When a liberal TV host tried to trap Karoline Leavitt with provocative questions about her marriage and feelings for her older husband, he never expected her to turn the tables with a shocking response. But before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Now, picture this, a brightly lit television studio in the heart of Washington, D.C. The cameras are rolling, the audience is settled in their seats, and there sits Karoline Leavitt, poised and confident in a sharp navy blue suit that reflects her professionalism. The host, known for his provocative interview style with conservative guests, welcomes her with a smile that does not quite reach his eyes. At first, everything seems normal, just another high-profile interview on another busy day in the media circuit. But there is something in the air, a tension that is about to explode into one of the most memorable moments in recent television history. The audience watches intently as Karoline adjusts her microphone, her posture reflecting the confidence of someone who has faced the press corps daily. But there is something different about her today, a quiet strength that seems more pronounced than usual. Perhaps she can sense what is coming. The studio lights cast a warm glow across the set, but the atmosphere is anything but cozy. The host, leaning forward in his chair, carries himself with the smug confidence of someone who thinks he is about to deliver a groundbreaking exposé. Little does he know, he is walking straight into a trap of his own making. You can feel it in the air, that electric tension before a storm breaks. The audience, mostly composed of the host's regular viewers, shifts uncomfortably in their seats. They have seen his infamous gotcha moments before, but something tells them this time might be different. As the cameras roll, the host begins with what seems like casual small talk. "Ms. Leavitt, thank you for being here today," he says, his voice carrying that practiced smoothness of a seasoned interviewer. But there is an undertone there, a subtle hint of condescension that does not go unnoticed by Karoline. Her slight smile never wavers, but those who know her well would recognize the steel entering her eyes. She is about to reveal a side that few have ever seen. The first few minutes follow the expected pattern of any high-profile interview. The host inquires about Karoline's work as White House press secretary, her rapid rise in politics, and her efforts to communicate the administration policies. "I believe in transparency and accountability," Karoline explains, her voice steady and clear. "The American people deserve to know the truth, and it is my job to ensure they get it." The audience nods approvingly, some even applauding spontaneously at her genuine commitment. But then comes a subtle shift in the host's demeanor. His questions, while still professionally framed, begin carrying hints of skepticism. "That is fascinating," he interjects, his tone suggesting otherwise. "Some critics have questioned your rapid rise in politics, suggesting it is more about connections than merit. How do you respond to that?" Karoline's response is characteristically measured, but there is an edge to her voice now. "Those who question my qualifications often reveal more about themselves than about me," she replies, maintaining direct eye contact. "I have worked hard for every opportunity one have been given, and my record speaks for itself." The host's expression tightens, almost imperceptibly. He shuffles his note cards, clearly thrown off by her composed retort. The audience picks up on this subtle power shift, the murmur of conversation grows slightly louder, and several people exchange knowing glances. This is not going according to his script, and everyone can sense it. As he moves to his next line of questioning, his voice takes on a more challenging tone. The topic turns to her personal life, and the real interrogation begins. The host leans forward, adopting what he probably believes is a look of sincere curiosity. "You have had quite a journey, from a small-town girl to the White House press secretary. That must have been challenging," he says, his emphasis on the last word hanging in the air, loaded with insinuation. "Every journey has its challenges," Karoline responds, her voice steady. "But America is a land of opportunities. I have been blessed to live the American dream." She pauses, then adds with quiet conviction, "and I have worked hard for everything I have achieved." "Indeed," the host continues, his tone growing bolder. "But surely being married to someone older, someone with influence, opened doors that would not have been available otherwise." The audience stirs at this more direct approach. Karoline's expression does not change, but something flashes in her eyes, not anger, but determination. "My husband and I built our life together," she states firmly. "Each of us bringing our own strengths to our partnership." Partnership. The host seizes on the word, clearly thinking he has found an opening. That is an interesting choice of words. Some would say it is more of a mentorship. The temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. A few audience members shift uncomfortably in their seats, aware they are witnessing something unprecedented. Karoline uncrosses and recrosses her legs, her only visible reaction to the increasingly hostile line of questioning. "You know," she begins, her voice carrying a new edge of steel beneath its usual grace, "I find it fascinating how some people claim to champion women independence, yet question every choice a strong woman makes." Her gaze holds the host, unwavering. "Perhaps we should discuss why that is." The host blinks first, clearly unprepared for this level of pushback. But instead of backing down, he decides to double down, a decision he will soon regret. "So, let us talk about your relationship," the host says, dropping any pretense of subtlety. "How would you describe your marriage?" As someone who is constantly in the spotlight, constantly surrounded by controversy, is not it difficult being married to someone so much older? Karoline's response comes with quiet confidence. "My husband is a man of wisdom and experience. When you stand for something, controversy follows. We knew this path would not be easy, but we walk it together." "Together," the host repeats, a hint of skepticism in his voice. "But is not it difficult being married to someone so polarizing? Someone who attracts so much attention?" "You seem very focused on the negatives," Karoline observes, her tone calm but firm. "Let me tell you what the media does not show: a man who wakes up every day thinking about how to make this country better. A partner who, despite his busy schedule, always makes time for his family. A husband who values loyalty and commitment above all else." The host shifts in his chair, visibly frustrated by her composed responses. "But surely you must disagree with some of his views, his lifestyle choices. In a healthy marriage, do not you have to agree on everything?" "In a healthy marriage," Karoline replies, "you do not have to agree on everything. What matters is respect, understanding, and supporting each other." Something that seems to surprise people who view relationships only through political lenses. Several audience members nod in agreement. The host notices this shift in the room energy and decides to change tactics. His next question comes with a sympathetic smile that does not reach his eyes. "You have accomplished so much on your own, your career, your rise in politics. Do not you ever feel overshadowed by your husband's larger-than-life personality?" Karoline's slight smile takes on an edge of amusement. "You know, it is interesting how some people confuse support with submission, or strength with dominance. Perhaps that says more about their view of relationships than about mine." The tension in the studio rises as the host realizes his usual tactics are not working. His expression hardens, and he prepares to take the interview in a more confrontational direction. "Your success is well documented," the host begins, his tone carrying a subtle condescension. "But let us be honest, marrying someone older, someone with influence, must have made things easier for you. Is not that the real story?" Karoline's eyes narrow almost imperceptibly. "You seem very focused on my personal life," she says, her voice calm but firm. "Should we discuss your journey to this chair, or is scrutiny only interesting when directed at others?" A few nervous chuckles ripple through the audience. The host's smile tightens. "I am simply trying to understand the dynamics of your relationship. After all, you moved in very different circles before meeting your husband." "Different circles?" Karoline repeats, her voice carrying a hint of challenge. "I was a successful professional who worked hard to get where I am. I met my husband as an equal, not as someone looking for a step up." The host's facade of professional curiosity begins to crack. His next words come out sharp, almost accusatory. "But you must admit, marrying someone older, someone with influence, changed your life dramatically. The opportunities, the connections, the power." Karoline interrupts, her voice quiet but firm. "You are about to cross a line you might regret. But please, continue. I am curious to see where this goes." The studio grows so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The host, momentarily thrown by her direct challenge, makes a fatal mistake. He decides to take it. "Let me be direct, then," the host says, any pretense of courtesy now gone. "Would you even be with your husband if he was not influential? If he was just an ordinary man, struggling to make ends meet?" The audience gasps. Even for this host, known for his provocative style, this crosses a line. But Karoline's reaction is not what anyone expects. Instead of outrage or defensiveness, a small, almost pitying smile crosses her face. She begins, her voice carrying a quiet strength that fills the studio. I have been asked this question before, though usually not so crudely, and it always reveals the same thing: how little people understand about love, commitment, and values. She adjusts her posture slightly, her eyes never leaving the host face. I had my own career, my own ambitions. I could have chosen any path, any life I wanted. But I chose my husband, not his influence, not his status, but the man himself. The host tries to interject, but Karoline continues, her voice growing more passionate yet maintaining its elegance. Let me tell you something about my husband that you will not hear in the media. When we first met, do you know what impressed me most? It was not his accomplishments or his experience. It was how he spoke about his family, how his eyes lit up when he talked about their achievements. It was the way he taught me the value of hard work, integrity, and loyalty. The host shifts uncomfortably in his chair as Karoline leans forward slightly. You see, influence can open doors, but it cannot buy character. It cannot buy the kind of dedication I have witnessed as my husband worked tirelessly for this country. It cannot buy the love I have seen him show his family, and yes, this nation. She pauses, allowing her words to sink in. The audience is completely captivated now, many nodding in agreement. So, to answer your question, yes, I would be with my husband if he had nothing. Because what I love about him has nothing to do with his influence and everything to do with his heart. The host opens his mouth to speak, but the look in Karoline's eyes makes him reconsider. He is clearly realizing that his attempt to embarrass her has backfired spectacularly. But you have to admit, the host says, scrambling to regain control, your lifestyle, the opportunities, the privileges, they must play some role in your relationship. You seem very fixated on material things, Karoline observes, her tone carrying a gentle rebuke. Is it so hard to believe that two people might share deeper values? That they might build a life together based on mutual respect, shared dreams, and genuine love? The host professional veneer continues to crack. I am just trying to understand. No, Karoline interrupts, her voice firm but controlled. You are trying to push a narrative. You want to paint me as someone who married for influence because that is easier than accepting that a strong, independent woman might choose to stand by her husband out of love and conviction. She straightens in her chair, her presence commanding the room. Let me tell you what true privilege really means to me. Privilege is having a partner who supports your dreams while pursuing his own. It is having someone who, despite all the attacks and criticism, never wavers from his principles. It is watching your husband work tirelessly for a country he deeply loves. The audience breaks into spontaneous applause, causing the host to fidget with his notes. When the clapping subsides, Karoline continues, her voice carrying a warmth that contrasts sharply with the host's cold skepticism. You know what I find interesting? How quick some people are to judge a marriage they know nothing about. How eager they are to reduce a complex, loving relationship to something transactional. Perhaps that says more about their values than mine. The host's face reddens slightly as he realizes his strategy has completely backfired. The audience, initially neutral or even skeptical, is now firmly on Karoline's side. He glances at his notes, desperately searching for another angle. Since you are so interested in my marriage, Karoline says, her composure unwavering, let me tell you about the man I know. The man who sits up late at night reading letters from Americans struggling to make ends meet. The husband who still brings me coffee in the morning, no matter what crisis he is dealing with. The studio falls into rapt silence as she continues. The partner who taught me that success is not about wealth or status, it is about integrity, hard work, and keeping your word. These are the things that matter. These are the reasons I stand by him. She leans forward slightly, her voice carrying quiet conviction. You see, when the cameras are off, when there is no audience, no press, that is when you see a person's true character. And my husband's character has never wavered. Whether dealing with success or challenges, his dedication to his family and this country remains constant. The host, now visibly uncomfortable, attempts to interject. But surely. No, Karoline says firmly. Let me finish. You asked about influence, about opportunities. But true privilege is not measured in connections or power. It is measured in loyalty, in dedication, in the courage to stand up for what you believe in, despite constant criticism. By those measures, my husband is the richest man I know. The audience erupts in applause again, longer this time. Several people stand. The host glances off stage, perhaps hoping for a commercial break, but finds no escape from the situation he has created. When my husband and I first met, Karoline continues, her voice carrying a warmth that fills the studio, he asked about my dreams, not my resume. He wanted to know my thoughts, not my age. That is the man I married, someone who sees beyond the surface, who values substance over status. She straightens in her chair, her eyes meeting the host's now uncertain gaze. You asked earlier if I would stay with my husband without his influence. Let me be clear, I stay with him because of who he is, not what he has. I have seen him face unprecedented attacks with unwavering courage. I have watched him sacrifice comfort and convenience to fight for what he believes is right for America. The host attempts one last weak defense. But the public perception. The public perception, Karoline cuts in smoothly, is shaped by people like you who cannot seem to understand that a woman might choose her partner based on character rather than connections. Who cannot grasp that real love is not about power or privilege. Her voice takes on a gentle but firm tone that commands attention. You know what my husband said to me during one of our most challenging times? He said, Karoline, they can take everything we have, but they cannot take our love for each other or this country. That is the man I married. That is the man I love. The studio erupts in thunderous applause. Even some of the camera crew are nodding in approval. The host, now visibly deflated, shuffles his notes one last time. His voice has lost its earlier arrogance, replaced by a subdued tone. Well, that is certainly a different perspective than what is often portrayed in the media. Perhaps, Karoline responds with quiet confidence, that is because some in the media are more interested in creating narratives than understanding truth. They prefer simple stereotypes over complex realities. She glances at the audience, many of whom are still standing, and continues. You know what surprised me most about becoming White House press secretary? Not the criticism, I expected that. What surprised me was how many Americans saw through the noise and understood what my husband and I have always known, that love, loyalty, and dedication to service are what truly matter. The studio remains transfixed as she delivers her final thoughts. My husband is not perfect, none of us are. But he is a man who loves his family and his country with everything he has. And at the end of the day, is not that what really counts? The host merely nods, any trace of his earlier smugness completely erased. It is clear to everyone in the room, his attempted takedown has transformed into a powerful testament to love and commitment. Some people thought they had Karoline Leavitt figured out. They saw the professionalism, the influence, the lifestyle, and convinced themselves that is all there was to see. But today, she showed us something far more valuable than any material possession, the power of true love and unwavering loyalty. In a world where relationships often seem disposable and marriages of convenience are all too common, Karoline Leavitt reminded us what real commitment looks like. She showed us that behind the headlines and political drama, there is a love story, one built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine understanding. What started as an attempt to embarrass her turned into a masterclass in grace under pressure. More than that, it became a powerful reminder of what truly matters in life, not the size of your influence, but the strength of your character. Before you go, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching.